the hell is this guy doing over there? Casey, hey, wake up. What's going on over there?
Oh, hey, I'm sorry, Ray.
I've been sitting here for like an hour.
I'm sorry. I took some of those Sunday scaries that we talked about last week on the show.
Yeah?
And I got this incredible pillow from Sweet Z Mattress. And I must have just dozed off here before the show. I apologize, man.
Looks pretty cushy.
Dude, I'm going to tell you something. This is one of the best pillows that I've ever rested my head on. 100% all organic, plant-based materials. I have been getting some great sleep with this pillow, and by taking those Sunday scaries that we talked about last week. Yeah. Incredible.
Cool. Where can somebody get a pillow like that?
Oh, it's very easy. All you have to do is go over to sweetzmattress.com, and that's sweetzmattress.com, and use the promo code Deluxe15 at checkout, and they'll get 15% off of their entire order.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really awesome, Ray. They have awesome beds, pillows, all kinds of stuff. It's really good stuff. All organic, 100% plant-based. Use code Deluxe15 at checkout for 15% off of your entire order.
This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Deluxe Edition. I am your host, Casey Shearer. Joining me, as always, the artist formerly known as Ray the Podcaster. He is L. Ray Sexton.
What is going on, Casey?
Not too much, buddy. How are you?
We just had another fantastic interview.
Hell yeah, man. What a good one. We will be honest with everyone because that's what we're all about. We did have some technical difficulties, but we just had the great Doug Jones on the show, which you'll be hearing in a few minutes right after this quick house cleaning. We are a part of the Deluxe Edition Network. You can find all the other great shows over at deluxeeditionnetwork.com. Find the podcasts of the month like Barrel Aged Flicks. Well, you will see Ron during this interview. And HILF, History I'd Like to Fuck with Dawn Brody. They are the podcasts of the month over on the network, the Den, or the network, as some of the networkers call it. If you'd like to support the show, come on over to patreon.com/Deluxe Edition Pod. And over there, you will be able to find the show immediately after it is recorded, unedited, with all the flaws. If you'd like that kind of stuff, come check it out. You can also hear about what we talk about before and after the show with the guest. Come check it out. Check out all of our previous shows over at deluxeedition.show. And let's see, if you want to buy a t-shirt, nice weather's coming up, go get a t-shirt. whatamaneuver.net/collection/deluxe-edition. Ray, where can people find you, bud?
I am the 10 Cent Beer Night Podcast. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook. Just put in 10 Cent Beer Night Podcast. You can go to TeePublic and get yourself some sweet, sweet merch. I am really pushing the white chick tank tops for summer. And I think you know why. It has to be white. Don't waste your time with any other color.
Go get those bootlegs, Raise the bootleg
yes.
monster.
And
And
look at that. That is the bootleg deluxe edition that is available at my TeePublic store.
That's right. And speaking of t-shirts, I do have to give a shout out here to the Haunted Tales podcast. I won this t-shirt on an Instagram gimmick that they had. So thank you very much, Haunted Tales Network. Not the Haunted Tales podcast, not a part of the network yet. So check them out. And here is our interview with Doug Jones. Thanks so much, man. So how's your weekend going, man? What does Doug Jones do on his off time? You're so busy constantly.
Right. I'm a very boring person. I don't have like any like great exciting hobbies. I don't horseback ride. I don't play tennis. I just basically watch the Hallmark Channel and sip coffee.
Hey, that sounds all right. For as hard as you work and as many movies and TV shows and films that you're doing, just sitting back and relaxing, there's nothing wrong with not having any hobbies or anything.
Well, that's very, very kind of you. Thank you.
One of my questions going down the line here, talking about that. So I guess you don't write, no like side projects or anything going on, like no writing.
Well, I mean, unlike other actors who want to direct and produce, I don't want to do any of those things. Writing, I do have a writing project. It would be in the form of a novel, though. I'm more of a paragraph writer than a script writer. So
okay.
I'm 4 chapters into a novel that I started during the pandemic, and since then, I had to go back into production on Star Trek Discovery, and then once I haven't gone back to my book yet. I need to get back to chapter 5 now.
Sure. Can you tell us what the book is going to be about at all?
No, it's sort of like it's the lead character of this book is me, basically, from about 20 years ago. So he's an actor who does lots of rubber bits, monster roles, and but he handles his lack of fame a lot differently than I did. So he goes on an adventure to a small town, and he gets very famous there, in the middle of Kansas somewhere. Kind of a fun twist, yeah.
Very cool. Well, I'm looking forward to reading that. I've been starting to read a lot more lately, so that will be interesting to read. I don't know where to start with your career, Doug. There's just so much to talk about, and we jump around on this show so much. Like nothing's going to be in order here. I just have a ton of notes. I want to start with you working on The Ultimate Legacy with Raquel Welch, Brian Dennehy, Bill Cobbs, Lee Merriweather.
Yeah,
great movie.
Yeah. Well, thank you for even knowing about that. Yeah, that was on the Hallmark Movies and Mysteries channel, and that was kind of a dream for me because I love the Hallmark channels. I've discovered that while I was working on dark and dismal, movies, and where I'm wearing latex foam rubber makeups and costumes and being dripped with like KY jelly and attacking people. So when I got just a phone call, the producer of The Ultimate Legacy just sent me an email saying, "Hey, I have you in mind for the butler in this this feel good story with Raquel Welch being your boss lady that the owner of the estate that you work at." And Brian Dennehy was a recurring character in this series of movies, The Ultimate Gift, The Ultimate Life, and The Ultimate Legacy was part 3, and he was in all 3 of them. James Garner was in the first one, and then a whole young cast of young pretty people that had all the issues to work through. So, but working with Lee Merriweather, Bill Cobbs, Brian Dennehy, and Raquel Welch were all like a generation above me, which is hard to find anymore. When I get on a movie set, I'm usually the oldest guy there. So it was lovely to work with these legendary actors and be in their presence and be like young enough to be their kid. It was great.
Yeah, and then you were, like you said, you were Raquel Welch's butler. You got to drive her around in a scene. I saw your selfie. Is that a no? Were you afraid to ask her for a picture?
That's why she wasn't looking at the camera, because she didn't know it was being taken. Yeah, it was she forbid she forbid selfies on set. So so I kind of went like, yeah. And God bless her, rest her soul. She passed away now, so I can talk about it. But
Well,
before,
I mean, for someone as beautiful as she was, I mean, and especially on set, I mean, that's when she's looking her best. You know, why would
all
she
done
not
up, you would
want a
think that would be the
selfie
time to
stick?
grab a selfie. Right. Of course.
Yeah, it's a great movie. If I remember listening back to a bunch of interviews, are you a vegan?
No, I don't know where that would have
Oh,
ever come
okay.
out. I'm
All
omnivore.
right.
I use all my teeth.
All right. Because I laughed at when Brian Dennehy says in that it's a very funny part in the movie. He
Oh,
says to
how do you know if someone's
someone,
a vegan?
yeah, they tell you.
Yeah, they'll tell you, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
if anyone hasn't seen it, it's a great movie. I think I found it on, I don't know, Prime, Amazon Prime or somewhere.
I think so. Yeah, and you can buy I have a DVD here at home that I think I purchased through Amazon Prime myself. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a really great movie, man.
Well, thank
So,
you. That's very good.
most people know you from, you doing you talked about being in rubber suits and all that stuff. Do you prefer doing those, or do you prefer movies like The Ultimate Legacy where you just are a regular person?
Oh, right. Well, I can't. The word prefer is just tough. It's tough to use that when talking about my silly career, because there are pluses and minuses to all the types of roles that I've played. When you're in a rubber makeup and you're glued into something and they've changed your look entirely, that does afford me the chance to play a wider array of characters than I could ever do with my own face, and also gives me some longevity in my career. You're not aging on film when you're covered in rubber, but then the outcome of that has been, I've been on the stage at the Oscars when The Shape of Water won Best Picture. I attended the Oscars years before when Pan's Labyrinth had 6 nominations, and so it has afforded me a lot, those kinds of roles in those kinds of pictures with a director like Guillermo del Toro, especially. But then when I get to do something like The Ultimate Legacy, or another indie film that I did that I loved, My Name is Jerry. It's on the YouTube in its entirety for free. My Name is Jerry. I played the title character of Jerry, a midlife crisis fellow, middle-aged guy
It's
going
in
through
my
midlife
notes
crisis,
here.
which
I wanted to bring that up next. Yep.
yeah. So that getting to do something that comedic and with being in the makeup trailer for 10 minutes instead of 4 hours, there's a plus to that too, of course.
Sure. Yeah, so let's talk about My Name is Jerry. I just watched that last night. Another
Oh
great
God,
movie. You're the lead in that, with Don Stark from everybody. A lot of people know him from the '70s show.
that 70s show,
Stephen
yeah.
Yen. I believe this might have been Stephen Yen's first role.
First movie ever,
People know
yes.
him from Glenn as from Walking Dead. Another very funny part in this movie, before you tell us a little bit about it, but when you shake the guy's fist, when he goes to give you the fist bump, and you shake his hand, I
Yeah, he
laughed
goes
so
like this
loud
and I go,
because, yeah, I
right.
laughed so loud during that because I was a pro wrestler right out of high school, and people used to go to fist bump me all the time, and I
Yeah.
used to shake their fist. I used to shake their
Oh,
fist exactly like that.
awesome. Yeah, no, it was great
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, that was Stephen Young was living in Chicago at the time. We filmed that My Name is Jerry in Indiana, and that's my home state. That's where I come from. So they did some local casting. The closest big city that had a talent pool would have been Chicago. So yeah, he came from there and had a strong improv background, and very comedic. So he was a delight to work with. I mean, I'm very proud of his success since then with The Walking Dead, and also his Oscar nomination for Minari. So he's gone a lot of places. But that movie came about. The director and writer of that, Morgan Mead, was a film student out here in Los Angeles back in the 2004, and got a hold of my agent at the time and asked if I would do a small cameo in his short thesis film for his film school. And it was a time when I was entertaining more of those. I had more time, and so, but I wanted to have a sit down coffee date with him just to see like what's the story he wants to tell, what's his vibe. Well, is this a good situation to get myself into or not? And you never know with a student film. So we met at a coffee shop in Burbank, and 3 hours later, we're laughing. I just loved this kid, and he had a lot of toys in his head, and I liked his creativity and his storytelling abilities. So I said, yes, you know what, I want to be I would like to do your short film, and I would like to be in anything else you ever make in your entire career as well. So we did his short film, and he passed with flying colors. Went back, and then he went back home to Indiana, where he's also from, and started working his life, and wrote a feature film script and emailed it to me and said, I don't know if you want to be in this or not, but I wrote this for you. And it was My Name is Jerry. So I read the script, and it was like, oh gosh, it was just a breath of fresh air for me, because I often get sent scripts in the horror genre or the science fiction genre or the comic book genre, where it's like, I have to be something fantastical. And here it was a regular guy. Sure. When you've got a middle-aged guy going through midlife crisis, that's something I am and have done. So I understood Jerry better than I should have. And so getting to play him was a real treat for me. Yeah. He played on my, whatever comedic skills he thought I had, Morgan, as the writer. And I just love, and also Catherine Hicks was my boss lady in that movie from Seventh Heaven, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I know they assembled quite a good cast for the budget they didn't have. Yeah.
Right. I want to know how, and this doesn't have anything to do with you, but how does Don Stark constantly get booked to marry these beautiful women in these roles? He wasn't Catherine Hicks was like his mistress in this, and he was married to Tanya Roberts in that 70s show. Like,
right. And to look at Don, you wouldn't think, but that's not, I'm not here to judge, I don't want anyone looking at my wife and saying that I married up either, you know what I'm
saying? Oh man. Well, yeah, it's a great movie. Like Doug said, it's on YouTube. You can find it there. Really good movie, man.
Yeah. And it's kind of a reconciliation story too, with my daughter in the story, played by Allison Scagliotti, who you also knew from, oh golly, what's the show she was on Sci-Fi Channel for years? It's not going to hit me now. Sorry. I would have studied up, but then we were going to touch on this one. Not anybody usually finds My Name is Jerry.
That's what we do here, Doug. We do deep dives here. I'm going to bring up some other things that I'm sure no one has ever talked to you about. There was something else I wanted to say about My Name is Jerry. Now I can't remember. That's okay. So we'll move on to another movie that you play not a regular person. You play the killer in this movie, Beneath the Leaves, with Paul Sorvino and his daughter Mina. Is it Mina? Mira. Yeah, you play the killer in this movie. Another good one, man.
Oh, thank you. That was another. The filmmakers came looking for me and just kind of, this crazy guy who was kind of a serial killer. He was just very, very disturbed character. That I get offered a lot of disturbed roles, kind of the Anthony Perkins thing I think I have going on, where I seem like an unassuming, tall, skinny guy, but then with an evil streak underneath. So in Beneath the Leaves, yeah, there was flashbacks to a lot of these lead actor boys that were as children that I terrorized and sexualized, and it was just a terrible. I played a terrible person, and then now that they're grown up, I'm coming after them again to finish the job that I thought I had started back in the day. So it was dark as can be, but I got my just death in the end. And that was Mira Sorvino that brought me down as the lead detective on the story. And her detective partner was played by Christopher Palaha, who is another big name on the Hallmark Channel. He's in a ton of movies there. He was a detective partner with Mira Sorvino, and he was also one of the boys that I went after when he was younger. So that's how that story kind of came together. And again, I got to play a human, but those roles are not a dark, disturbed person like that is not where I live my real life. So it isn't. These are acting challenges for me, for sure, to dig into that mindset and what would make this person tick, and how does he come up with his wants and needs, and are they why has he made the life choices that he's made? And it does make you self-reflect, like, because any one of us could dip into a dark place in our lives if we want to. We all have that potential, and that's the scary thing you find out when you're acting these roles. It's like, oh my gosh, to play this role correctly, I had to find that headspace, and it was not a pleasant. It was a scary place to be. So I clock out at the end of the day, and when I come home, it's just Dougie.
So maybe it is easier sometimes to play a character who is covered completely in rubber, where people can't see your faces, because you don't have to maybe do that. Like the deep dive of the character, or am I wrong?
No. Yeah, I would never say easier. No, because I still have to find all those internal things to play a character, even if it's a monster, scraping down a hallway after somebody. There has to be an intention, a want, a need, a love, a fear, whatever that character is made up of, that's still work for an actor to do. And then you add the added challenges of the heat, the weight, the stickiness of a costume and makeup. No, it's not easier at all. Emotionally, it's less exposing, perhaps, because it's not my real face doing all these things. But in the end, the easier days are when I get to be a human, and then just work on the character.
Sure. Oh, I remember what I wanted to talk about. My Name is Jerry. That had something to do with the college that you went to, right? It was Ball State.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, the writer director I told you about, Morgan Mead, had also attended Ball State University for maybe a year. He didn't do his whole. That's why he finished at a film school in Los Angeles. He didn't finish there, but because of his connection there and my connection, that's where I graduated with my bachelor's degree back in 1982. He went to finance the film. He was having trouble, finding. That's any filmmaker's biggest issue, is finding the money to make their movie. So he actually had a conversation with the Indiana Film Commission and to explain his story and like what would they suggest. And they're the ones who gave him the idea. Well, since you and your lead actor, Doug Jones, both attended Ball State University, why don't you go to them, talk to their film department, and see if there would be any kind of a collaboration to do. So he did that, and they were very excited at the idea, because they were now other colleges have done this in the meantime, but I think this was the first example of a commercially viable feature film being made at a university with our department heads were professionals from Hollywood or other big cities around the country. And their staffs, the crew that was built up under those department heads, were all students from Ball State, getting credit for class credit for being on our crew. So it was a great way to talk about budget conscious. That was a very cheap way to assemble a crew who were all paying tuition to be there, right? So
Sure.
It was a very, very ingenious thing, and they put all the crew through a boot camp ahead of filming. A production boot camp, so to show them, here's how it works on a real film set. Here's how you carry a sandbag. Here's how you set up a C-stand. These are all technical things that we build a set with, and here's how you assist a camera operator. Here's how you're supposed to carry their bags around, and here's how you put up a reflector sheet, and all kinds of things. And so by the time I got there to the set, I was in front of a working professional crew that I couldn't tell the difference of any other thing I've ever worked on before, but they were just all a lot younger. And they had an excitement in their eyes, and they were so happy to be there and to be, working on a real movie. And it's kind of reminded me, like, this is why I entered show business, with that kind of, excitement and hope for my own future and all of that. So it was really a lovely, beautiful environment to work in.
Once again, if anyone hasn't seen that, My Name is Jerry, go check it out. and Beneath the Leaves. Is there anything else you want to talk about Beneath the Leaves, Doug?
Oh gosh, no. Yeah. Again, it was such a dark role for me. But I did poor Sidarius, and I'm going to forget his last name. He was the one in a motel room. He was one of the young boys grown up now as an adult that I hire. I sort of like, my character hires a prostitute to lure him into a motel room, tie him up on the bed. And he's kind of excited and blindfolded, and the blindfold comes off, and I'm there now. So I've traded places with her, and I'm kind of like, so I find a very seductive, horrible way to poison him until he froths at the mouth and his eyes turn bloodshot, and he wriggles to his death. So, and that was Beneath the Leaves. And then years later, but I was just so apologetic to him. When you're acting a scene like that, and here's this guy in his underwear, and you're straddling him on a bed while poisoning his mouth, and oh my gosh, it was just hideous. So years later, we were in another film together called it was called The Knocking. It is now retitled, I think, Don't Answer the Door. Don't open the door. I think it's not out yet. It's still coming. And I'm the one who you shouldn't be answering the door for. And he was an unfortunate character in that. I haunted him in that movie too. So to see him again on set, it's like, I have to apologize for Beneath the Leaves. I'm going to apologize for today as well. Okay. So
that's pretty cool. All right, so let's see. The next thing, well, I have a note here in my notes, and there's nothing behind it. Tony Gardner. What does that name mean to you?
Well, Tony Gardner is the creature effects makeup designer, makeup artist who created my Billy Butcherson look for Hocus Pocus. And because of him and how well that movie shoot went for us 30 years ago, he and I have kept in touch. And a lot of my career has happened because of referrals from people just like him, where they've worked with me and because they liked what I did performance-wise in their makeup creation. They also liked the banter and the hangout time. Did we get along? Was there a good sense of humor between us and all that? So Tony was just the living epitome of that relationship with me. So he started referring me for every job you could imagine. He was, if the role called for a short, fat fella, he would say Doug Jones is perfect for that at 6'3" and 135 pounds. So
that's awesome. That's the kind of friend you need, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So he because of him that I did a small cameo in Adaptation with Nicolas Cage and Meryl Streep, and he was responsible for a FedEx commercial I did, and for I did a small cameo in Stuck on You with Matt Damon and Greg Kinnear. The list goes on and on, including all the way up to Hocus Pocus 2. 29. We filmed that last year, 29 years after the first one came out, and so he recreated my makeup on me again, looking exactly the same as I did 3 decades before. So Tony and I, we have a lot of rich, lovely history.
Very cool. Very cool. So I want to talk to you about, there's another, you talked about these indie things that you do. Dying is Easy. You're only in it for a very short time, but you play the Riddler. It's a Batman fan film with Michael Madsen as Harvey Bullock. Kevin Porter plays Batman, and very popular cosplayer on Instagram, Vera Bambi, plays Poison Ivy. How do you get involved with something like this?
Right. Well, Bat in the Sun is the production company name, and they've done a lot of DC Comics kind of short film fan films but their YouTube channel has millions of subscribers and views, so they're actually huge. It's like they're a television production company on their own. They had a show called they had a sort of a reality show called, like it was like a who would win in a battle, hero battles. I can't remember what the show was called, but they caught me in the hallway at San Diego Comic-Con once, recognizing who I was, and hey, Doug, we're back in the sun. We have this show called, can we do a quick interview with you? So like on the spot, who would win in a fight, Superman or the Silver Surfer, which I played in the Marvel movie Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four. So I had to answer on camera. Well, I think in between these two, I'm going to say the Silver Surfer, actually, even though Superman has a lot of powers, the Silver Surfer has the power cosmic. I mean, I brought planets down. Anyway, so that's how we met. And that same production company is who did all of these very slick, high production value, scripted, short films that pay homage to all characters. So Kevin Porter, who plays their Batman, and he is one of the best Batmans I have ever seen on film, and that includes all of the ones who have been in the big WB Warner Brothers movies. Kevin Porter, he really channels what Batman should be from the comic books and beyond. He and I befriended each other over the years too. We have had many lunch dates together. So between him, my connection to him, and my connection to the Bat and the Sun producers and writers, they collaborated with this. They wanted to do another Batman short called "Dying Is Easy," where he really has his a showdown with the Joker. But on his way to get to the Joker, he goes through this prison area where a lot of the Batman villains are jailed up. The Riddler being one of them. And so I think they'd had a lot of fan fodder, over on the internet saying that Doug Jones should play the Riddler. So they reached out to me, and I said, heck yeah. So it was one day in my life that we shot during the pandemic. It was that was the first thing I filmed after the world shut down.
Wow.
And it was really, really great. It was great to be back on a set again and filming something that had such love behind it and such fan support. Again, yeah, like you said, I was in it for just a split second as Batman walks by me. I'm kind of, giving a little silly riddle in my head. So I had to. It was one line of dialogue, but it was tough to memorize because it was kind of lyrical and riddly, of course, because I was a Riddler. So there's a good chance that I'll be back with them again doing something else in another Batman fan film of some sort, hopefully with playing more Riddler and more of him. Let's hope. Very
cool. Awesome. Yeah, that I was very surprised as to how well that was done. It's really, really good. You've been looking pretty good these last few weeks, man.
Yeah, I got a secret stash of the stuff in the mail.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, you got the Caldera Lab stuff too, huh?
I did get it.
Dude, this is some great stuff, man. It's a 3-product regimen. You can go to their website and check the third-party results yourself. You don't have to believe Ray or I, but we've both been using it. It's great stuff. The 3-product regimen of the good, the base layer, and the clean slate. People who have used it are experiencing smoother and healthier looking skin. It's really great stuff. Go over to calderalab.com and use promo code DELUXE for 20% off. This is a great deal, Ray.
Yeah. Look good, feel good, live good. That's what I always say. Absolutely.
calderalab.com. Use promo code DELUXE for 20% off of your entire order. There's one more thing I want to talk to you about before we get into the fan questions. We have a bunch of fan questions. No, actually, I have a few more things too. Tales from the Crypt with Ernie Hudson and Joan Chen.
Yeah.
This is going back a little bit.
Sure is. And I did so little on that show. One episode was set in a 1930s circus tent sort of a theme. Like a sideshow thing. So being a contortionist, I can put my legs behind my head. I got cast as a circus contortionist sideshow person. I think, and I didn't really brush with Ernie. I did with Joan Chen a little bit. Gosh, this was during her. I think she was right off of her days on Twin Peaks, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And just like such a dynamic screen presence, and to be in front of her live and in person was just like, oh, she's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. Ernie Hudson was kind of the ringmaster, sort of the announcer person for this sideshow circus traveling tent show. And I was just out there for one day, and I watched how as they carried the scene around. The camera kind of went by me at one point. I was supposed to do something funny and twist it up, but yeah, it just kind of wasn't much.
So when
Okay.
did you mentioned that you're a contortionist, and I know that you did a lot of commercials where you had to get into small boxes and things like that. When did you learn, like when did you figure out that you could do things like that?
Yeah, when I was a kid. Yeah, I sat in funny positions while watching TV or something, and my brothers would be like, "That looks really weird," and I'd be like, "Oh, you think that's weird? Well, try," and you just be pushed to the next level, and then you become a party trick. Show them that thing you do. So, yeah. So I never really traveled with a circus in real life as a contortionist, because I'm kind of a one-trick pony. I can put my legs, behind my head, sort of this way, and but that one sight gag has come in handy over the course of my career. I did a lot of TV commercials and a lot of sitcom appearances in my early days, because that was the sight gag I brought with me.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was a kid, I don't know if I can still do it. When I was a kid, my friends used to always make me. Yeah, I can still do it. They used to make me bend my thumb back like that because. That's the face
that's quite unsavory.
All right, so let's get into some of the things that you've done as a monster. I want to talk about Pan's Labyrinth a little bit. Last week we talked to Bo Svensson, and in a lot of his older movies, they were filmed in Italy. And when he's talking, you can tell that he's speaking English, but the other actors are not. And I asked him about that, and I said, how did you what was going on like behind the scenes? And he said, I have no idea what they were saying. He said sometimes they would even just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And listening to the interviews that you've done, that was something that Guillermo had asked, or he told you that you could do that you could just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or
right.
But you wanted to learn the actual dialogue for the movie.
Right. Pan's Labyrinth. It was a Spanish language film that I read an English version of the script for when I said yes to it. And then I was informed it would be in the Spanish language that it was filmed in. So I was like, oh, I'm going to ruin your movie. I can't do this. And that's when he said, oh, you can count to 10 for all I care. I'll dub over it later, but I need you to play the fawn. So I was like, oh, wow, I don't know. So I think that was very... very, very intelligent, wise of him he knew what he was doing, because he knew that I wouldn't let it go with my mouth, saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He probably knew that I would buckle down and learn the language, which I did. I learned the language of the film so that I could carry on a dialogue back and forth with the young actor, Ivana Beccaro, who played Ophelia. And so, yeah, it would have made no sense. She was 11 years old at the time. Can you imagine counting to 10 in English in front of a Spanish young actor and getting some emotion back out of her? That would have been the wrong thing to do. So right. I learned the language with my own accent I threw onto it. And in the end, I still was dubbed over in the end, and I should have been. But the crew was saying, like, I had many comments. People thought that I was a native speaker. But I said, we don't know where you're from, though, because you don't have an American accent. We can't quite detect where your accent is from. I thought, well, that really actually would have worked for the film, because the fawn character in Pan's Labyrinth was from the underworld and from a fantasy place. So why would he sound like he's from Barcelona or,
Right. So so you learned the Spanish for the movie. Did you know what you were learning? Like, how did you know what you were learning? Yes. Or did you just learn the Spanish and not have any idea what you were saying?
No, that's a mistake that people have said, is that I learned it phonetically, and that would just be just memorizing sounds. No, I actually knew the language I was speaking, because I had an English translation and a Spanish translation of the script side by side, so that I could figure out sentence structure, what meant what, so I learned it word for word, knowing exactly what I was saying. Yeah.
Have you retained any of that?
No, gosh, no. Yeah. Well, one line comes to mind. Soy un fauno, vuestro más humilde súbdito, majestad, which is, I'm a fawn, your most humble servant, your majesty.
The voice actor that came in to dub over you, he actually said, "Why am I here?" Because you did such a great job, right?
That was Hellboy 1. The first
Oh, okay.
Hellboy movie was, I was dubbed over by David Hyde Pierce, and he said when he heard and that was this movie in English, so there was no reason to dub over me there, except for at the time of Hellboy 1, he was a bigger name than me, and the studio kind of wanted to put a bigger name attached to that role. So David Hyde Pierce was very kind and didn't think he needed to be there when he heard my original performance, and he ended up taking his name out of the credits. So if you watch the movie, actually, the opening credits don't have his name in it, and the rolling credits at the end do not have his name in it. He didn't show up at the red carpet premiere, didn't sign autographs, nothing, because he didn't want to steal limelight from me. It was very, very, very sweet and unnecessary of him, but I love him dearly for that.
That's now in your contract, though. They cannot dub your voice anymore, right?
Right. When I'm contracting for movies now, that's a clause that has to be in there, or we're not going to see me in it, probably.
Is that clause called the Darth Vader clause?
No. I know it happened to David Prowse as well, yes, but no, it's kind of a common occurrence where they'll have a celebrity voiceover in some kind of when your face is obliterated, they think immediately, oh, maybe we can get a famous voice for this. So I would like to be that voice, because when I take on an acting role, I want to play the whole thing. I don't want to have part of my performance missing when the movie comes out.
Sure. So you've worked in 6 of Guillermo's movies, 12 different characters in 6 of his movies. Is there any, now most of his movies you are in a suit. Is there any improv with him, like, or is it all what he wants? Like, in The Shape of Water, you don't have any dialogue, but like movements or things like that. Is there something that you'll do that you want to do and he'll say no?
Oh, no. He's very collaborative. He absolutely has a vision for everything that he's ever filmed ever in his life, which, we all can appreciate his visionary storytelling. But if you have an idea, or or he has certain bullet points he wants you to hit with the character and then go home and come up with something on your own, that's why he hires the actors that he does, because he trusts us to come back with something that is film worthy for him. So he's done it with me several times, where he'll just talk with me about, here's a couple of traits or idiosyncrasies or things, personality traits I want to see with a different character or creature that I want you to play. And then I'll come back with that. So the Hellboy movies, for instance, would be Abe Sapien was a fish man mutant. So basically, he didn't give me a whole lot of notes on Abe Sapien. I just, just what was in the script that he had written, that he's, very intelligent. He reads 3 books at a time. He's the calming influence next to the brash Hellboy character. And so I kind of took a note from my goldfish in a home office fish tank of mine, how they calming their fins were, and how curious their heads were as they darted around. So I kind of made Abe Sapien, his head was more perky and curious, and his hands would be more fin-like. So when I brought that to the table, he was like, "I love that," and we never talked about it again. So very simple.
So with a lot of his movies, you're brought in very early to rehearse things because of maybe being in the suit and stuff. Is that a normal thing that other directors will do?
That's a luxury that you don't always get. But for instance, because the makeup process creation starts, they have to start doing test fittings and camera tests with creatures long before other actors are even cast often. So I do get more time with the character than most actors do on his films. And in The Shape of Water, once that process was done, I had rehearsal time with Sally Hawkins, the lead actress. We had 3 weeks of dance rehearsal time, because that movie went off to she went into a fantasy that she was in an MGM musical. And so we had a dance routine to do. And so neither one of us being trained dancers, we had about 3 weeks of rehearsal before the movie started filming, which was really actually very helpful for both of us. Not only did we learn a dance routine, we also learned some trust with each other, and we got to, know each other really well. We cried together, we laughed together, we shared our fears of like how big this movie was for us, and are we up to the task? And so we actually had a camaraderie between the two of us that hopefully then by the time we went to camera 3 weeks later, we had a chemistry already built in that I hope showed up in the movie.
Before we get into our fan questions, we have a new segment that we've been doing with Ray here. It's called Real Questions, and I promise, Ray, this will be the last time that I ever tell this the story that goes with the real questions. So, Doug, I sort of catfished you into being here through I run Mark Singer's
yes,
Instagram page and his Facebook page. And when I started that, I keep getting these likes from a blue check mark, Doug Jones, and that's how and Mark did want to start a podcast and all that stuff, and that's how we connected. Unfortunately, I don't think he wants to do that anymore, but so I know you're a fan of Mark's.
Big fan of Mark's. In fact, I discovered him in I think it was a TV movie he did back in the 80s. And I rented, but it was put on VHS tape, and I rented it from my local video store when I was living in Indiana. It was called If You Could See What I Hear. He played a blind college student dating Sherry Belafonte was his girlfriend in the movie. Yep. And he was fantastic in that. And I'm like, who is that blonde guy? And then sure enough, he comes out in the Beastmaster years later. And then what, it was on Dallas, and was it the show? Was it V?
Yep.
V.
Yeah. So no, he's popped up everywhere since, and so I love him in everything he's ever done. So so getting a response from the Mark Singer Instagram account, even if it was run by you, Casey, was like a big thrill for me.
Yeah, well, imagine now how I feel that I'm his friend and that I hang out with him occasionally. It's pretty incredible. And he came up. So the reason, and I promise this will be for everyone listening, and that this is the last time I'll ever tell this story. But he came up with this segment for us. It's called Real Questions. I was showing him. He was asking me about like what gets us notice on our YouTube channel, and I said it's these shorts and these reels that are about a minute long. And I was showing him our channel, and the shorts and reels that I was posting had nothing to do with our podcast. And he said, well, okay, it's bringing attention to your channel, but what does this have to do with your podcast? And I said, well, nothing. He goes, all right, well, give me a couple days to think about it, and I'll see what I can come up with. So I watched him. He backed out of the space next to me, and I watched him drive away, and I was putting in my GPS where I was to head to next, and he came up and scared the shit out of me and knocked on my window, and he said, okay, how long did you say these things are? And I said, like 30 seconds to a minute. He said, okay, ask me the craziest question that you can think of. And I'm not good at this stuff, so I was like, what did you have for breakfast this morning? And he goes, okay, that's why Ray's going to ask the question and you're going to time it. And they're called Real Questions. And he just walked away.
Okay.
REEL questions. So I was like, so Ray?
All right. So you got your timer ready there, Casey?
Yep.
All right. How long do we give him? A minute?
Yeah, a minute.
Okay. So you love to be creatures in movies, correct? Does that love come from when you were portraying Charlie the Cardinal at Ball State University?
I'm going to say yes. And Ball State University will take credit for my career because they were the first costume character I ever played. Was this big floppy bird in a cardinal in a big red bird suit with yellow tights on my legs and big yellow floppy feet on the basketball court at Ball State in Indiana. So yes, that was the beginning of my wear something around the head and be sweating profusely in it.
What was your go-to move to get them all jacked up?
Oh, I had a good move. I can't show you because I can't get far enough away from the camera, but it was a full body flapping of the wings while I bounced my body up and down. So it looked like I was actually flying on one leg. I had the other leg kind of behind me while I was flapping up and down. It was a crowd pleaser. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. We're going to get into some fan questions. And like I mentioned here at the beginning of the show, Doug, we have some Patreon members here.
Mm-hmm.
Bring them in to ask you 2 fan questions. And if any of our listeners would like to do this, they can join our Patreon, patreon.com/deluxe edition pod. Here they are.
Hello.
Sammy and Ron from Barrel Aged Chicks and Barrel Aged Flicks.
Hey, what's up, Doug?
Oh.
Hello,
Hey,
Doug.
good to meet you both. Hi.
I'm fangirling so hard this entire time.
Thank you so much. It's so sweet of you.
Oh my gosh. No, like I've had the biggest things for Billy Butcherson and I've seen all your movies and I've like, oh my gosh.
Aw.
Okay, so I guess I asked my question.
Yes,
Sure.
you go first.
So since you are such an amazing transformative monster actor, what would be the most difficult prosthesis that you've ever had in your career that you had to deal with?
Oh, right. The farther from human you get, the harder it's going to be. So if you see me stand up in a humanoid sort of position, those are not easy, but they're easier than when I played the mother bug in a horrible straight-to-video movie called Bug Buster. Yeah, it was just a heinous job for me. I had a big stinger coming out of my ass, and I had big wings, and my bug head was up here somewhere, and I had to it was on a pulley contraption, and I had big 6-foot pinchers that were attached to my own front arms, and then I had 6 legs coming out of my sides.
Oh my
It
goodness.
was absolutely heinous to work in, and it was a silly comedy movie, of course, the name Bug Buster, with Randy Quaid in it as a supporting player. My scene was with Randy Quaid, but these insects are attacking a small town, and no one knows where they're coming from, and they're killing people. So finally, they bring in Randy Quaid, who was like this ex-military guy with big Coke bottle glasses, like, yeah, we're gonna kick some bug ass. So he finds a cave outside of town where they're coming from. He gets into the cave, and people are dying off left and right. So he's one of the last people left in the town. So he gets in there by himself, and he finds the mother bug guarding her pile of eggs. And so I had to. He tries to kill me. He yells at me and has this monologue, and then he pulls out a gun and goes boom, 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 and the bullets don't kill me. Then he pulls out a fire thrower, and then his flames don't kill me. Then he pulls out a CO2 gun to try to freeze me. That doesn't work. So he throws all of his weapons down and says, "Come on, man, you and me, mano y mano." So that's where it got weird. We have this hand-to-hand fight, like Casey was saying, he was a wrestler, and we did some wrestling moves, Casey. So we're bouncing off the walls of a cave and rolling around on the ground, and and I told Randy ahead of time, I have these 6-foot long pinchers on my front arms. That's what I have. And I think they're pretty sharp. They're made of fiberglass. I don't know. Be careful. We'll be fine, Doug. Don't you worry about a thing. So, action. And this camera's following us around this entire fight scene. We're all choreographed. Swipe, swipe, swipe. End up on the ground with him on his back and me on top of him. Cut. And I had to get pulled off of him and put back onto my little bug chair. And I told the little assistant girl with me, I said, can you check on Randy? I didn't see him get up. So she goes over to the other side of the cave, and I hear, Doug, buddy, can you hear me? It's Randy. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. We're good to go again. So I guess Randy's okay. The next voice I heard a young production assistant, maybe 20 years old, says, excuse, can I get some ice over here? I can't stop the bleeding. I had gashed Randy Quaid's forearms, both of them, and he was bleeding profusely.
Oh my goodness.
That's hilarious.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
but he bandaged up. We did a take 2. He was a good sport. Good sport.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Very cool.
A
Very
longer story
cool.
than you asked for. I'm sorry about that.
No, that was
Oh, no.
amazing.
That's
I'm totally
perfect.
going to go watch Bugbusters now.
I got a simple question for you. It's something I always ask a lot of people, but I'm really curious. And by the way, loved your performance in Shape of Water. That's
Thank you.
Great performance. Seriously, I enjoyed the hell out of that. And every performance you've done, you are just a master at with the suits and everything. You're great at it. I love watching you.
Thank you.
What is your favorite movie of all time? I'm curious, like your favorite movie, your go-to movie that you can watch over and over again.
Well, I have a handful, but and we watched one of them just last night, the missus and I, Notting Hill with Julia Roberts and
That's a good movie.
Hugh Grant. I'm a feel-good, lighthearted, happy ending type of movie watcher. So, but if I was going to be banished to a deserted island and only had one movie I could take with me on DVD, that movie would be Somewhere in Time, 1980, with Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour. It is a time travel romance that happens, and it all takes place on Mackinac Island in Michigan. Beautiful at the Grand Hotel there. He goes back in time to meet the love of his life that he saw through a photograph of her that really spoke to him. So he goes back in time to find her. And Jane Seymour was like drop dead, jaw to the ground, gorgeous. And Christopher Reeve had just come off of his first Superman movie. Yeah. So yeah. I could watch that one and have again and again and again.
Wow, I'm gonna watch that movie now. I've never seen that.
There you go.
Somewhere in Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve is awesome. So Somewhere in Time. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doug.
Big love. Thank you guys.
Bye.
All right, love you guys. Bye. All right, so Jacob Stewart would like to know your favorite and least favorite character that you embodied.
Yeah, again, favorites and least favorites that's picking out of a 37-year career. It's almost impossible to do.
Sure.
But
It's like somebody asking what their favorite, who's your favorite child, right?
Exactly. A parent can't say that. So because I don't want to diminish anything else I've done by picking the favorite. But all of them every character I play, I have to connect with and I have to fall in love with in some way or another so that I can play them correctly. And that would even include the bad guys. So, the gentleman from Buffy the Vampire Slayer has a certain place in my heart because of how we're just horrifically silent, evil that the gentlemen were. But I love Abe Sapiens, his gentle, intelligent touch on a superhero team. I love the Silver Surfer for his quiet strength. That that was a lesson for me that less is more. Because I tend to flap my hands around when I talk and make a lot of facial expressions, and the Silver Surfer didn't have to do that. I love Saru on Star Trek Discovery that I'm playing. Season 5 will be coming out early 2024, and that will be our final season. We just found out. So Saru on Star Trek, I've gotten to know better than any other character I've ever played because I've just played him for longer. I've had more screen time with Saru than any other character in my 37-year career. So that's given me a chance to explore and peel back more layers of a character than anyone ever before because we've had more time to explore more of him. So he's an alien from outer space who is very gentlemanly and very poised and very refined, and also wears his emotions on his sleeve. So he's very emotionally connected and expressive too. So I really, really love him. I love playing Baron Afanas on What We Do in the Shadows. He is so goofy and silly. It's like, I love all things vampire anyway. And so when you get to do like a TV show that's sort of like The Office, but with vampires, talk about my love for comedy and my love for vampires like combined, and that's the most perfect show. So and the Baron is like this old school sort of Nosferatu like character who is just stupid and goofy, like all the other vampires on the show. Great fun to play with. Billy Butcher's in from Hocus Pocus. Again, he's a zombie who just wants to go back and take a nap again. I can relate to that almost every day. And then, oh golly, the list goes on and on for favorites. And least favorites would be maybe that mother bug from Bug Buster, probably.
Okay. Well, you mentioned a bunch of things there that have to do with our fan questions. So let's start with this one. Michael Ortiz, he wants to know, is there any chance of a Saru spinoff from Star Trek Discovery?
Well, I don't know what the network or producers might be thinking about that. I'm 62 years old now, and I've worn an awful lot of rubber bits in my life, and I've been there and done that with Saru now. So I'm not sure how much more Saru I need to play. But again, as an actor, I can sometimes be a whore. If they're offering enough money, I'll show up with my lipstick on. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm not familiar with that show, Star Trek. Is that how many episodes do they put out? Is it just a weekly show?
Yes, it streams on Paramount Plus, and it's we've had a different number of episodes per season, but it's a shorter format than the old 26 episodes, format for network television. Our first season was 15 episodes. Our second season was 14, and then we've been 13, and now we're season 5 was only 10 episodes. So
Okay.
yeah.
So you're in that suit a lot.
I mean, a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Something else you mentioned there in talking Buffy. Spoil My Movie podcast. They would like to know what was it like to work with Sarah Michelle Gellar on Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Yeah. Well, first of all, being a guest star on Buffy the Vampire Slayer was exciting anyway. By the time I was on the show, I think it was season 4, so it was already had its popularity, its following, and Joss Whedon had already proven himself as a brilliant, showrunner, creator, writer. So this episode, the Hush episode that I played in, was written and directed by Joss Whedon, which, so television, every episode is directed by different people, and the writers can change through the staff from different episode to episode. So the fact that he came out of his office to do this one, to have it hands-on with this episode, we knew it was going to be special anyway. So here I was, this silent killer, and Sarah Michelle Gellar was young in that day. She was she started the show very young, and so by the time I met her, she was still in her, I think early to mid 20s, and as a number one on a call sheet kind of actor, she was great and very gracious with us. And a crew member told me, though, said that if Sarah likes you, you'll get along great, and so she did. So we got along great, but I had to attempt to kill her in a little scene where we had a big action at the end of the episode. She had a showdown with us, and there was some kicking and there was some swiping of knives and things, and so I had to put a knife into her back and hold her, and so it's funny, she didn't make a fuss over it at all, but her crew members and all the crew that work with her every day on the show were very protective of her, and it was nice to see, actually. They were telling me, like, listen, you're a guest star, you're going to be gone after this episode's done, do not hurt our Sarah, right? I'm like, okay, well, yeah. So they were very quick to remind me that she's they're all there because of her, and I better not ruin their gig. You know what I'm saying? I don't blame them for that at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have one more question here, one more fan question. Brad Franca, he's from Bev's Video Kingdom, another podcast on our network. Ask Doug if he enjoyed working on The Danger Element and Sock Baby with John Soros and Justin Spurlock. I guess
Yes.
they're from that area, like up in the Oakdale area. Is that where that
Modesto?
Where
And yeah.
up
in California, right? I had a ball working on The Danger Element and the Sock Baby episode that I did. I met John Soros, he has a screw loose in his head, and I've told him that many times, and he appreciates hearing that. He's and Justin Spurlock. It's a bunch of friends that got together to start making this silly web series up in Modesto and California. And I met John Soares and I think and Justin. They were standing in line at San Diego Comic-Con when Guillermo del Toro and I were there promoting Pan's Labyrinth before it came out. So that would have been in July of 2006, I'm going to say. I think that was right. Yes, it was July of 2006. So we did a little poster signing. The movie hadn't come out yet. Nobody knew what Pan's Labyrinth was. But the first Hellboy movie had been out by then. And John Soares was a huge fan of the Hellboy movies and of Guillermo del Toro's previous work as well. So they stood in line and met us, and he gave me a DVD. Here's some silly things we've done with my production company. So I actually went home and months later finally found that DVD, and I thought, I'm going to pop this in. Watched it, and it was hilarious tomfoolery with a lot of stunt fighting and really, really well done stunt fighting with a bunch of like friends that get together. So I got back with him right away going, I just finally saw your DVD. I met you at Comic-Con. Who are you? What can I be in of yours? And so that's when Sock Baby Part 4 came up. They wanted me. I played an evil version of Doug Jones in that. And then The Danger Element was a feature film that he pulled together where I got to play Dr. Elemus. I was this evil scientist with an indistinguishable accent. Somewhere in Europe. So I kind of made a French-German hybrid, and so it had some dark, serious moments in it, but it was also with silly people playing in it. It was a great combo.
Yeah, they're really. I mean, I'm sure they didn't have very much money to do those, but they're very well done. The fight scenes, like you mentioned, they're great. Like they're very well choreographed. Everything's filmed very well.
Yeah.
They even had some in Sock Baby. I think it was Sock Baby 3. They even had some like really cool special effects.
Yeah. And so, doing that on like zero budget almost. Yeah. John Soares and his friends are very, very talented young fellas, and they can work up a computer and cameras really, really well.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap up here, Doug, this is a question I always like to ask our guests. Is there anything that you've been in that you want more people to see that maybe they haven't seen?
Golly, I don't. That's a great question. Well, there's going to be. I did shoot something this past August that's not out yet. It's a new series that's going to be on a family-friendly streaming service called PureFlix. PureFlix is a division of Sony, and they have this family-friendly, faith-based kind of platform called PureFlix. So it is an anthology show called Destination Heaven. One of those episodes was written just for me, and my character is another human, and he's a used car salesman with shifty intentions. And he has a heart attack, dies, meets God, gets a chance to come back and live his life the right way, and comedy ensues. It was written and directed by one of the original showrunners of that 70s show, Dean Batali, and he's hilarious and a really great writer. So it was really lovely material to dig into. So there's that coming, and that was supposed to be out in March on PureFlix, and it hasn't come out yet. So I'm not sure why that series has been postponed, but sometime soon. And also, I did a version of Nosferatu. My love of vampires was really fulfilled. Getting to jump into the skin of Max Schreck, we kind of recreating the silent film, but as a talkie with sound. So. Original film footage was used to create backdrops that we then were filmed on green screen and plopped into that original film footage. So that's why it took so long in post-production. We filmed it back, years ago, and it's finally done now. So within the next within the next couple of months, you should be seeing a trailer for it online, Nosferatu the remix. And
Awesome.
And so I'm very excited that the film should finally be seen in its entirety by the end of the year.
Very cool.
Nice.
Very cool. I know I missed a lot. There's so much to cover. Ray, what do you have, bud?
I got two quick hitters for him. The Bye Bye Man. I really like that movie. Is there any chance we could ever get an origin story where you're not in the makeup?
Yeah, the Bye Bye Man. Their intention making it was to keep the Bye Bye Man, the lead killer of the movie, which I played, a mystery until they could do a sequel, and that's where the backstory would come out. Well, our film creator Stacy Title has unfortunately passed away, so I'm not sure we're going to get to do a part two. The Bye Bye Man was not it was met with some financial success. It played in theaters across the country and did really well for the small budget that it had, and the return that it had was a success. But the critics, they weren't on our side. Exactly. So I'm not sure if we get to do that sequel ever or not.
And then Pencilhead and Mystery Men. Did you do that as a favor to them?
That was all. Yes, that was another little small cameo part in. I think that movie. Gosh, we filmed that in 1998. Does that sound right to you? 97,
Yep.
98.
Came out in 99. So yeah.
There you go. The director of Mystery Men was Kinka Usher. And Kinka Usher was a renowned TV commercial director, and I had done 3 commercials for him before that. So he knew of me, and he kind of came up with Pencilhead and just earmarked it for me in his first feature film. So of course I said yes, I'll come do that for scale. I don't care. And you will be surprised how many people say Pencilhead all the time now. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, Doug. I appreciate you being here with us.
Yeah, thank you so much, man.
Pleasure.
Where plugs? Where can people find you?
You can find me on any social media platform except for I'm not on the TikTok. Yeah, that's the one I love. The kids play with that one.
Sure.
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Tumblr, and you can find me Actor Doug Jones. All run together, no punctuation. Actor Doug Jones on all of them.
Thank you so much, man. We really appreciate it.
Bye-bye. Take care, you guys. Thanks again for having me.